Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Diana Castro. I recently graduated on Sunday as a political science major. Today I am with Annie Kraft, who's also a political science grad, and she's currently working with the Chicago Housing Authority. Hi, Annie.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for taking this time for us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So I'm sure you can relate, as other political science students can relate, about the material we learned in class about the social injustice, what to do with it. So I've noticed that it seems that you have focused your career on social justice issues. Can you give us more information about your jobs after graduation and what you've noticed outside from the classroom to current day issues?
Yeah, definitely. I do have a very social justice oriented career. I think that I didn't necessarily plan it that way, but I followed what I was interested in and what I felt compelled to do, and this is where it's led me. So after DePaul, I worked for the Chicago Federation of Labor with their Workers Assistance Committee, and I primarily helped people who had been laid off from employment. So whether they were working in a factory or more of a high-level IT job, I helped equip them with the career readiness skills that they needed to succeed in today's economy. So I saw issues like, racial issues, gender issues, wealth inequality, all the way to more macroeconomic policy issues like free trade and shipping jobs overseas and how that impacted our local economy. So it definitely was a uniting of theories I learned in class and real world implications. I work for the Chicago Housing Authority, where I see the same things, but on a much more, on a deeper level. I think that even as someone who's very committed to social justice, and I feel I'm pretty educated in that realm, I had no idea how some people lived in Chicago. I had no idea the difficulties and traumas that some people faced on a daily basis, from children who've never even never even seen the skyline. They've never left their housing development, things like that. 75% of our population doesn't even have a bank account and have never had one. So things like that is just really eye-opening for me, and it's the reason that I do this work.
That's awesome. That sounds great. That sounds like a great example of taking what we've learned in class and applying it to real world experience. So as I chose to come to DePaul as a political science major, I definitely chose it as a stepping stone to go to law school. And I still have law school in mind, but first I want to get some real world experience. So how do you think your political science degree has prepared you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of us political science students, current and former, at one point thought about law school, if not that was the reason we chose the major. So that's definitely a huge concern. I did go to DePaul and I did major in political science with the intention of going to law school. I still occasionally think about it. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out, but I think that there's a lot of other career paths that we don't necessarily know about when we're 18 years old that you can utilize the same skills. DePaul prepared me for the workplace probably the most significant way, which is you hear a lot from liberal arts majors, is critical thinking. The work world is not black and white. There's a lot of things thrown at you that you have to think through. Additionally, the networking and internship opportunities in a city like Chicago are second to none. So I definitely think that real world work experience is the best thing you can do to figure out what you want to do next. I have doors have opened for me and ideas have come to my mind that I didn't have when I was an undergrad, like studying policy or social work, something that's not necessarily where I'd be litigating, but you still have a huge impact on legal issues.
Right. Thank you. That sounds great. It makes me feel much better about what to do after graduation. So I've noticed that you have had some internships in political justice or political science field and nonprofit. So can you tell us more about how you got those internships or what kind of resources did you use?
Yeah, I had 3 undergraduate internships. I got them a variety of ways. The first one I got at a local congressional office in my hometown just by calling them up and sending in my resume. Another one, I was talking to a professor and told her I didn't have any summer jobs lined up, and so she brought an opportunity to me. And then another one, I just did a lot of research on what organizations that I would like to be a part of in Chicago in my last year of college. So there are a lot of resources. The Career Center is really helpful. All the people there are very willing to help you out. Your professors kind of know the field a little bit more so. So I definitely encourage all current DePaul students to go through their professors and their discipline.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's great, especially emphasizing that professors do provide other resources that we might not consider. That's great information. So I've noticed at DePaul that you are part of some organizations for students, and that currently you do have some clubs right now that you're in for professionals. So why do you think it's important for students to participate and volunteer their time in these organizations?
Yeah, I think that involvement in volunteer, extracurricular, outside of work affiliations is important for 2 reasons. One being that no matter what you do, whether it's go back to school, find a job in the workplace, employers and graduate schools, law schools want people who are passionate and engage with the world around them. So someone who, volunteers 10 hours a week at a dog shelter or on a working professional board or teaching students is so much more interesting than someone who isn't engaged in their community. So I think on a more societal level, it shows that you care and that you're passionate and have interests outside of, just hanging out at home. And then likewise, you learn a lot of real world skills. I mean, before I joined the Young Nonprofit Professional Network, I had no idea how to run a communications campaign, but now I'm, managing social media, I'm coding on a website, never thought I would do that. A lot of things that are so helpful and that translate into whatever job. I mean, it greatly expands your level of professionalism that you can offer to employers.
That's awesome. That's great news. It sounds like you've gained a lot of new tasks that you would have never received through these organizations. So that's great. So I currently have graduated. So Paul graduated yesterday, and looking for a job. And I'm sure, and I feel this anxiety. I'm sure other DePaul graduates feel it too. How is your experience after DePaul? Was it difficult to find jobs, or what was your experience like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that it really depends on the person. I knew that when I graduated, I didn't want to join the workforce right away. I wanted to have my summer to go abroad and travel in Asia. So I lived in Beijing for about 8 weeks. And that, honestly, things like that you don't think are very applicable, but it's something to talk about in an interview, what you learned in China. And it totally relates to political science. So you could really make your personal experiences marketable. Also, yeah, I definitely thought it was hard to find a job. I wouldn't say it was impossible. I would say that you really have to utilize your network. It's kind of like if you're, I don't know, to make an analogy, like if you're baking cookies, there's a lot of ingredients involved. You have to network, you have to work on your resume, you have to get out there. You can't just do one of those things and expect to find a job. But I would also say just to kind of calm down, and things will fall in their place as long as you follow what you're interested in and what you're good at.
Great. Thank you. That sounds like a great information for students to follow if they have the anxiety that I might have or other students to have about what are the correct steps to do. So just knowing that you weren't sure, I'm sure gives a lot of students relief. And traveling is always fun after graduation. And I'm glad you brought it back to applying it to a job field while you're in an interview, having a completely different perspective. So that's great. Thank you for that insight. So one of my most memorable experience of DePaul was my experiences with the professors. A lot of them have taught me information that has changed my perspective on the world. So what do you think is the most memorable experience you have had, either if it's with professors or an event that happened to you while you were at DePaul?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely the professors had a huge impact on me, and the Department of Political Science in general. I think it's one of the departments that has a lot more interaction with students and professors than others do. And obviously I wasn't in other departments, but talking to different friends and coworkers, I definitely got that sense. I would frequently spend hours at a time on the political science floor, going in and out of offices. I just would walk down the hallway and stop in. I still get together with my professors very frequently. I live in the same building as one of them. I run into them at Target and at the grocery store. That is definitely important to me, but also I felt like DePaul, being where it is in Chicago and kind of being close to so many different neighborhoods, I was exposed to people that I never would have met if I stayed in the suburbs of Chicago where I grew up. I think that from having random roommates to being in classes that brought people from different backgrounds, I have some of my friends today I don't think I would be friends with if I had stayed in the suburbs. And I'm really grateful for that because some of my best friends are from across the country.
That's awesome. I agree. I think DePaul offers an experience to students to live in the city, to still have the college experience. And I think our professors here are amazing. So yeah, thank you for that. So from your experience here, what do you wish was one thing that you could tell DePaul students who are graduating, who are currently still here working towards their degrees? What is one advice that you would tell them?
I would say to not underestimate the value of a political science degree. In our economy now, there's so much emphasis on, computer science and finance and engineering, which are all wonderful careers that are, I'm very valuable. We need those people. But also if political science and social justice or law or whatever it may be is your calling, that there is a place for you in the larger economy. It may be a little bit more difficult, but people in fields that are more in demand, they have difficulties too. At the end of the day, doing what you want to do and being in a career that is so rewarding to your values is really invaluable. I encourage people to kind of really soak in what they're learning, immerse yourself in the department. It's the more you immerse yourself in your studies, really the more connections you have, which is how you get jobs in the first place. So definitely take advantage of everything you have at DePaul, because it's just a huge plethora of resources.
Yeah, I definitely cannot agree more. I think networking with your department, with your professors, with your friends, as much as you can from the experience here can definitely lead you to opportunities that you might not know for the future. So that sounds great. Thank you for that. So I realize congratulations on your current position. I know it's still fairly new. So can you explain to us a little bit more insight about this position, how it's different, what are the challenges, just as much as you would like to let us know?
Yeah, so I currently work as a senior project coordinator of workforce for the Chicago Housing Authority. So beforehand, I was working one-on-one with individuals who have been laid off, and now I'm more coordinating and monitoring all of our workforce contracts. So big government agencies like the CHA have a lot of contracts that do the on-the-ground work. So I'm making sure that they are helping our residents, that they're getting them jobs, they're following their grants, things of that nature. It's much more administrative focused, but I do get to go to the sites. I'm at a public housing development at least once a week. So I get to see the people, I get to see them interacting with their case managers, and if there's any issues, I'm the one there to solve it, which is a really gratifying experience. And coming from a place where I was that case manager at one point, I think I am able to put myself in their head and really help them do their job more effectively. Any transition is difficult. I had a really hard time transitioning from college to the work world. I missed that intellectual stimulation all the time. And then that being said, transitioning from my first job to my second job was equally as difficult. You really become close with the people. Your clients are sad you're leaving, your coworkers are sad, but you got to keep moving forward, and ultimately career progression is important. And as long as you're doing it at the end of the day, you're proud of the work you do, I think it's valuable.
Yeah, of course. I cannot agree more. Thank you so much. Annie, thank you so much for taking this time and sharing your information with us. Thank you for anybody that's watching, any of the DePaul students. If you want more information with how to connect with Annie and other members of the DePaul Ask program, you could please go to ask.depaul.edu for more information how to connect with other mentors. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on graduating.
Thank you.